Hey, and we're the Coalition live here at your Pawtucket City School Committee meeting. A big, big night. A lot of major decisions, including what will be hopefully be able to provide you soon the first early look, well, at Pawtucket Unified High School. I'm here with Mr. Charbonneau. He is a longtime representative on the school board. Thanks. I know it's been a long day for you. 2 or 3 minutes, just come a little bit closer, and you got to do a little bit of an outside voice. Bunch of areas tonight. Number one, you covered Shea High School, and you were concerned about, if you will, some disruption in the documentation process, and also if there's been a steady stream of concerns about the pace at which Shea High School is being addressed in response to the concerns issued by the school rating agency, NEASC, in their preliminary, if you will, judgment that there's a potential for you to lose your accreditation based on physical characteristics at the school. How is that for long-winded? Where do things stand with Shea right now?
Well, I think, as you've heard, we've spent about 23 to 43,000 of the 10 million that's been allocated at Shea. Tonight was some discussion on roof architectural design, and again, all of these plans were. My understanding was they were all completed during the planning for the renovation of Shea. So my question tonight was, are we paying twice for the same work? And of course, we heard that we're going to get that information. What was spent on the roof during the renovation planning phase of it, we'll get that back later tomorrow and add it to the new price tag today. So, not much has happened at Shea, unfortunately.
Well, are you concerned about the overall pace? I mean, there is, for lack of a better term, a drop-dead date from the school rating agency.
Right. I think I've asked that it be put on every agenda for an update for the last 4 or 5 months now. I don't think that the pace of work at this pace, I mean, we've looked at this since January, and we've spent about $43,000, 23,000 of that on a portable stage. That's not meaningful work to me.
Right. Moving on to the other big issue tonight, which is, of course, the Unified High School. Now, one of the issues raised is the concern over what they'll call the siting of the school and the formal assignment, if you will, of the Unified High School to property across the street, which is the current home of the legendary McCoy Stadium. That hanging out there, I mean, you talked extensively about a September submission to the Rhode Island Department of Education for their approval versus an end of the year, what impact that has on any funding that might be available, and also the overall pace of the project. There was just an interest rate increase yesterday.
Sure.
So as time marches on, this isn't getting any cheaper, is it?
It's not getting any cheaper, but I think, at the end of the day, what I heard tonight was that a care and control transfer is tantamount to the city council passing a resolution, in essence, giving us control of the McCoy Stadium site. I know there is conversation out there about, possibly saving McCoy and so forth. I understand that. While we may at times differ on policy or opinion, I firmly believe the mayor's administration, the council, and the school committee, when push comes to shove, if it's a question of passing a resolution, I think the council and the mayor's office would move pretty expeditiously at doing that for us, because it's critical to submitting stage 2.
Right. And for this amorphous conversation, I'm not asking you to comment about the whole McCoy Stadium cost side thing, but there's this wildly amorphous conversation going on that's broad in generalities with no specific approvals, holding up a $300 million project.
Yeah, listen, I have my concerns, but I think the city did the right thing a few years back. There was a formal RFP process. I don't know that this particular developer was even involved in that. But I also recognize that somebody walks into your home and says, I may be interested in buying it for $1 million more than it's worth. I think you have that conversation.
Finally, to my mind, a formal choice was made about at least what is the outline, the broad look at what a unified high school is going to be. And what would Your thoughts on, I mean, we're talking about a tower, we're talking about a complex campus with multiple athletic facilities. It looks like a dream.
Yeah, listen, it looks like a dream. It's a long way off, and I think that the residents of Pawtucket need to recognize that. If we were to start putting a shovel in the ground today, it's 5 to 7 years before it opens.
Right.
You know, I think the design we looked to advance a little bit tonight. We did just that. We advanced it a little bit. It's subject to change, and again, this is stage 2, which is a show of cause in a schematic design. It's not. We have not hired this particular architectural firm to design the high school, nor do we have a project management firm or a construction management firm on board. So the high school is years away yet.
Which, finally, in closing, is why the renovation of Shea on multiple levels, not just NEASC, is so critical.
Absolutely. And, one of my colleagues mentioned it tonight. Had we stayed on the original timeline, Shea would be completely renovated by now, and we'd be moving to do the same thing at Torrington. The voters of Pawtucket authorized that money to be spent, authorized it to be spent on those 2 schools, and yet it sits, 98 million of that 100 million sits untouched to this day. And I think, that's unfortunate.
Committeeman Charbonneau, thank you very, very much.
One last thing, Pat,
sure.
that I do want to mention. We certainly did have a lot of teachers here tonight, and there was a decision made at a special meeting to send the collective bargaining agreement back to the negotiation team. And I think it's important that people recognize. I was the lead negotiator on the previous 2 collective bargaining agreements, both for the teachers and the non-certified. This committee values their teachers. This committee values the non-certified staff. This was a failure on the school committee part at that special meeting. There was no one from the finance department available to members of the committee to answer questions. The chairman and another colleague had forgotten their notes from the negotiation meeting. And we have a responsibility to the taxpayers, just as much as we do to the teachers, to make sure that the deal we're agreeing to is fair and equitable across the board. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you vote to approve any kind of 3-year collective bargaining agreement when you don't have access to a financial voice within the department to bounce some questions off. And I think that story needs to be told. It's not being told. I don't know why. But, personally myself, I have always supported the teachers. The committee has always supported the teachers. This was a breakdown on the school committee part, and we should own up to that. I appreciate the time, Pat. Thanks.
Thank you.